is the story of Suleiman. And this is Surah Baqarah, verse 102. And this is the most explicit reference to sihr in the whole Quran. And that's why we need to discuss it in detail. This is the most explicit reference to sihr in the Quran. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَاتَّبَعُوا مَا تَتْلُو الشَّيَاطِينُ عَلَى مُلْكِ سُلَيْمَانَ وَمَا كَفَرَ سُلَيْمَانَ وَلَكِنَّ الشَّيَاطِينَ كَفَرُوا يُعَلِّمُونَ النَّاسَ السِّحْرَ وَمَا أُنزِلَ عَلَى الْمَلَكَيْنِ بِبَابِلَ هَارُوتَ وَمَارُوتَ وَمَا يُعَلِّمَانِ مِنْ أَحَدٍ حَتَّى يَقُولَا إِنَّمَا نَحْنُ فِتْنَةٌ فَلَا تَكْفُرْ فيتعلمون منهما ما يفرقون به بين المرء وزوجه وما هم بضارين به من أحد إلا بإذن الله ويتعلمون ما يضرهم ولا ينفعهم ولقد علموا لمن اشتراه ما له في الآخرة من خلاق ولبئس ما شروا بأنفسهم لو كانوا يعلمون. I recited the whole verse because it is very, very important, and we will spend a good solid 15 minutes just on this verse, breaking it up and trying to understand what each phrase says. وَاتَّبَعُوا مَا تَتْلُو الشَّيَاطِينُ عَلَى مُلْكِ سُلَيْمَانَ. So it is Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 102, and make sure you write this down and go back and read it in context. Now, the verse before this ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that the Yahud threw away the book of Allah. They threw away the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they, instead of following the book of Allah, what did they follow? So Allah says, وَلَمَّا جَاءَهُمْ رَسُولٌ مِّنْ عِنْدِ اللَّهِ مُصَدِّقٌ لِمَا مَعَهُمْ نَبَذَ فَرِيقٌ مِّنَ الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا كِتَابَ اللَّهِ وَرَاءَ ظُهُورِهِمْ. When the book came with the Prophet they knew, they threw away this book behind their backs. And they rejected the Prophet even though they knew that this is the Prophet. So they did not follow the book. What did they follow? وَاتَّبَعُوا مَا تَتْلُو الشَّيَاطِينَ. Instead of following the book of Allah, they followed that which the Shayateen recited during the time of Suleiman. Is that clear so far? Right? Instead of following the Quran, they followed the recitations of the Shayateen during the time of Suleiman. Okay, what is this recitation of Shayateen? What were the Shayateen reciting? We have many opinions, but to summarize, there's like 4 or 5, and I have all of them here, but no need to go into opinion 1, opinion 2, and 3. What appears to have been the case is that the jinns and the shayateen, during the time of Suleiman, or maybe after his death, maybe right after his death is another opinion, they claim to have the knowledge of Suleiman. Or according to one interpretation, they claim to have discovered the secrets of Suleiman. Now pause here. What secrets of Suleiman? How he controlled the jinn and the animals. How he controlled the jinn and the animals. Now, I don't need to tell you, or maybe I do need to tell you, I don't know. We all should know, those of us that have studied a little bit of Islam, that Suleiman was given something that nobody else was given. We know this. Suleiman was given something that no other prophet was given, no other person was given. And that's what the dua he made to Allah. رَبِّ هَبْ لِي مُلْكًا لَا يَنْبَغِي لِأَحَدٍ مِّن بَعْدِي. Oh Allah, give me a power. Mulk here doesn't just mean a kingdom, it means the power, the mulukiyya, the kingdom or the control that no one after me will have. So Allah says, because of his dua, we gave him the power of the wind. فَسَخَّرْنَا لَهُ الرِّيحَ. Right? تَجْرِي بِأَمْرِهِ رُخَاءً حَيْثُ أَصَابَ. وَالشَّيَاطِينَ. We gave him the power of the shayateen. And in other verses, we gave him the power to speak to animals. So the animals, وَحُشِرَ لِسُلَيْمَانَ جُنُودُهُ مِنَ الْجِنِّ وَالْإِنسِ وَالطَّيْرِ. And all of the armies of Suleiman, from the jinn and the ins and the birds, all of these are armies of Suleiman. So Suleiman was given the power to control the jinn, okay, and even the animals and the wind. It is said that after Suleiman died, or according to one opinion, even while he was alive, the shayateen claimed to have unlocked his power. What was the power according to the shayateen? The shayateen said, Suleiman knows black magic. So he's controlling the jinn through sihr, through black magic. So Allah is saying, this group of people in the time of the Prophet ﷺ rejected the Quran, and instead they followed the ramblings of the shayateen during the time of Suleiman. Then Allah defends Suleiman. وَمَا كَفَرَ Suleiman. Suleiman did not commit kufr. وَلَكِنَّ الشَّيَاطِينَ كَفَرُوا. Rather, it was the shayateen who committed kufr. Now, the verse is very difficult to understand without context. So, I will take a step back and simply explain everything so that you understand the verse, inshaAllah ta'ala. The story goes as follows, and this is one interpretation, but again, we don't have the time to go into various interpretations. It is said that during the time of Suleiman, for 6 months or longer, the jinn somehow managed to get rid of Suleiman temporarily. This is one of the Israeliyat, and many Muslim scholars also accept this opinion, that somehow they managed to catch him at a time of neglect or whatever, and they managed to get him off the scene. And they started slandering and spreading rumors about him so that people lose respect for Suleiman. And of the things that they said was that Suleiman is a magician and that he controls the jinn through sihr. And Allah says some of the modern Yahud believe this as well. And they're, instead of following the Quran, they're following these ramblings of the Shayateen. Then Allah defends Suleiman. Suleiman was not a kafir. وَمَا كَفَرَ سُلَيْمَانَ. This shows us that practicing magic and believing in it makes you a kafir. Because the jinns accused Suleiman of being a magician, not of being a kafir. And Allah defended Suleiman by saying, He didn't say Suleiman was not a magician. Rather, Allah said Suleiman did not commit kufr. And from this, the scholars have derived that practicing magic and believing in magic is disbelief in Allah. Clear? Right? Because Allah defended Suleiman from kufr. وَمَا كَفَرَ سُلَيْمَانَ. Suleiman did not commit kufr. Rather, it was the shayateen who committed kufr. How did they commit kufr? يُعَلِّمُونَ النَّاسَ السِّحْرِ. They were the ones teaching mankind sihr. So, what is the origin of sihr? Shayateen teaching men, not Suleiman. Suleiman did not control the jinns through magic. How did Suleiman control the jinns? Allah gave him the power. Allah subjugated the jinn, not magic. So what do the magicians do then? يُعَلِّمُونَ النَّاسَ السِّحْرَ وَمَا أُنزِلَ عَلَى الْمَلَكَيْنِ بِبَابِلَ هَارُوتَ وَمَارُوتَ. And these people are also following وَمَا أُنزِلَ عَلَى الْمَلَكَيْنِ. They're also following what was revealed to the two angels in Babil. Babil is Babylon. And these two angels are called Haroot and Maroot. Now pause here. So this ayah is a very dense ayah. So much information is packed in it. So we have to go bit by bit. So let's pause here. What is Babil? And what is Haroot and Maroot? There are, again, a number of opinions. Some of them go back to what the Jews and Christians say, and we find it in our literature as well. And unfortunately, some of our scholars have narrated this, and this is not true. But I will tell you that opinion because you will find it in almost every book of tafsir. This opinion goes back to a biblical story. The biblical story is known to some of us, and it's very common amongst our Christian neighbors. They all know the story because it's a standard part of the Bible. That apparently, according to the Bible, two angels mocked the existence of man and said, look at men, how evil they are. And we can do a better job. So Allah, apparently, allegedly, we don't believe the story, said to these angels, if I were to make you men and send you down and give you the temptations of men, what do you think you would do? So they said, oh, we would do a much better job. We would be worshippers, we would not do any sin. So, according to the legend, Allah sent two angels in the form of men. And they were men, i.e. they were transformed into men. And they were called Haroot and Maroot. And then they saw a beautiful lady and they could not control themselves. And so they committed all of the sins and zina and sharab and everything they committed. So this is Haroot and Maroot. And according to the Bible or according to the Israeliyat, they were transformed into some type of star as a punishment, and they're being punished. And that star we see, according to the Israeli traditions, is actually punished, the angels being punished. Now, unfortunately, the star is the Venus star, and it's not even a star. The point is that we find this story, and it's not in the Quran, and it's not in the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. Rather, this is a story that's found in biblical literature, and some of our scholars have taken it, and unfortunately, you find it there, but there's no basis for it. So, we don't believe that any angel was transformed to a human. But the Quran clearly says two angels came down. And these angels were called Haroot and Maroot. And they came to the city of Babylon. وَمَا أُنزِلَ عَلَى الْمَلَكَيْنِ بِبَابِلٍ. And what was revealed to the two angels at Babylon. And these two angels, Haroot and Maroot. Okay, so what was revealed to these two angels in Babil? Firstly, where is Babil? Where is Babylon? Iraq. And how ancient is Babylon? It is said to be the most ancient city. There was no city before the city of Babylon to that level. The first real civilization was Babylon. So we are going back pre-Ibrahim. We're going back to the earliest of times, way before Musa, way before Suleiman. So Allah is telling us, when did magic begin? This is the story. Allah is telling us the origins. What is sihr? وَمَا أُنزِلَ عَلَى الْمَلَكَيْنِ بِبَابِلَ هَارُوتَ وَمَارُوتَ. And these Yahud are following what was revealed to the two angels of Babylon. These were called Haroot and Maroot. What was revealed to these two angels? So a number of opinions here. And really, there's only two opinions that I think are plausible, and the rest I'll just ignore. The first opinion that I think is plausible, there are more than two again, but these are the two that I think have some legitimacy. The first opinion is as follows, that Allah sent down two angels with the knowledge of how to control or access the jinn, which is magic, and the angels were sent to the city of Babylon, and the angels were allowed to teach anybody who wanted to study with them the quote-unquote art of magic. But the angels also came with a big disclaimer, and that disclaimer was, إِنَّمَا نَحْنُ فِتْنَةٌ فَلَا تَكْفُرْ. The angels said to anybody who came to them, we are a test from Allah, so do not commit kufr by studying with us. Yet, if somebody insisted, they taught him. Is that clear? So the angels are a test, and they say they're a test, and they only teach somebody after they tell them, if you study this, you will become a kafir. But they were still there. So Allah says, فَيَتَعَلَّمُونَ مِنْهُمَا. The people studied from the two of them, مَا يُفَرِّقُونَ بِهِ بَيْنَ الْمَرْءِ وَزَوْجِهِ. That which would cause a husband and wife to fall apart, to have problems and whatnot. And وَمَا هُمْ بِضَارِّينَ بِهِ مِنْ أَحَدٍ إِلَّا بِإِذْنِ اللَّهِ. They could never harm anybody unless Allah willed it. Magic is not more powerful than Allah. If Allah wants to, He can prevent it. So they're not going to harm anybody except if Allah has willed it. Add وَيَتَعَلَّمُونَ مَا يَضُرُّهُمْ وَلَا يَنْفَعُهُم. They studied that which only harms them and there is no benefit. So magic has zero benefit. Unlike alcohol, Allah says khamr has some benefit. Khamr has some benefit. This is in the Quran. But the harm outweighs the benefit. As for sihr, there's no benefit. It's only evil. And وَلَقَدْ عَلِمُوا. And the angels taught or told the men, لَمَنِ اشْتَرَاهُ. Whoever got this knowledge from them, مَا لَهُ فِي الْآخِرَةِ مِنْ خَلَاقٍ. They would have no share of the next world. You can literally purchase this world at the expense of the next. وَلَبِئْسَ مَا شَرَوْا بِهِ أَنفُسَهُمْ. And what an evil price they sold themselves for, لَوْ كَانُوا يَعْلَمُونَ. If they only understood. So this is the first opinion, that the angels taught the reality of sihr. Now, what is the reality of sihr? We'll come to in around 15 minutes, inshallah. What is the reality of sihr? Be patient upon me. We'll get there. But the angels taught them how to commit sihr. And the angels claim with a disclaimer, if you study this, you're not a Muslim. And Allah has sent us to test you. But obviously the people of Babylon insisted, and they studied it. So those who studied it became the first magicians of this humanity. And all magic that is existent today somehow goes back to Babylon through their own isnads. And there are different madhahib of magic as well, by the way. It's not just one madhab. There are different madhahib and different arts and different ways within magic. They all originate at Babylon. And the knowledge that was taught, according to the first opinion, directly from the angels to mankind. Okay, this is the first opinion. The second opinion is a slightly modified version. It's really in essence the same, but slightly modified. And this opinion has also been narrated from Ibn Abbas, and it's narrated in the Tabari's tafsir, and this is perhaps the easier one for us to understand. And Allah knows which of the two is valid, because honestly, both of them have their weight. The second opinion, Ibn Abbas said that the angels themselves did not teach magic, but rather the angels taught mankind of a group of jinn outside of the city of Babylon who would teach them magic if they went there. So the angels taught them the location of the tribe of jinn. And therefore, the angels did not sit down and teach them the minutiae of magic. Rather, the angels said, look, we are a test from Allah to tell you that there is a place you can learn magic from. And that place is where the jinn reside. And if you go there, you're a kafir. So we're warning you, don't go there. But if you insist, you can go over there and you will become a kafir and you will learn that which will be harmful to you and you will sell yourself to the devil quite literally and you have no share of the hereafter. So the only difference in opinion A and opinion B is what? Did the angels directly teach magic or did they indirectly teach magic? Okay, this is the only difference. In essence though, the angels came down as a test. Whether they directly taught or they indirectly taught, This is very explicit in the Quran, that the angels came down as a test. Haroot and Maroot were sent down to the city of Babylon. And they were a test to the people of Babylon. And they said to the people of Babylon, we are a fitna, so do not commit kufr. So, by the way, this also shows us that, yes, Allah will test us. Just like He told the Bani Israel, do not work on Saturday. And then what does the Quran tell us? Allah tested a group of the Bani Israel by what? By the fish, the fishermen. Allah tested them to see how sincere they were. That after telling them they're not supposed to work on Saturday, so for a number of weeks, the fish would only come on Saturday. This is in the Quran, right? And therefore, the fact that the angels of Haroot and Maroot are testing mankind, somebody will say, why is this happening? We say, well, because this life is a test. This life is a test. And all of us have easy access to sin living here. All of us. So the fact that sin is accessible is not an excuse. Allah is testing me and you right now by being surrounded by temptation. And Allah tested the people of Babylon with an even bigger temptation than what we have here. And that is actual magic. Right? So whether the angels taught directly, whether they taught indirectly, the fact of the matter is that the beginning of magic goes back to Babylon, and it goes back to the angels telling them or teaching them the reality of magic. From this verse, we gain many points of benefit. Most importantly for our lecture today, studying magic and practicing magic and believing in magic is all tantamount to kufr. You cannot be a Muslim and practice and believe in this. You cannot be a Muslim. And this is very clear in the verse because kufr is mentioned multiple times. Firstly, Allah negates kufr from Suleiman. وَمَا كَفَرَ Suleiman. Then He affirms it for the shayateen for doing what? يُعَلِّمُونَ النَّاسَ السِّحْرِ. Because they were teaching mankind magic. So merely teaching sihr makes you a kafir, right? And then the angels say, we are a fitna, so do not study and become a kafir. فَلَا تَكْفُرْ. So studying, so imagine teaching and studying is kufr. How about practicing and believing? Think about it, right? If merely teaching and studying actual sihr becomes kufr, then how about believing and practicing? And therefore, the correct position is that the one who practices and believes in this dark art is not a Muslim in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He might as well be a idol worshipper. He might as well be a pagan. So this is the second story in the Quran, and that is the story of Suleiman. And Allah Azza wa Jalla says, Suleiman was not a magician. Suleiman did not commit kufr. Rather, you want to know where magic started? The shayateen were teaching magic, and the shayateen, it goes back to what Haroot and Maroot taught to the people of Babylon, whether directly or indirectly.